Hello, my name's Scott Davis, and welcome to New World Birth. By accessing this presentation, you're inviting me to share this information regarding our passage through this challenging and very hopeful time. And this is the weekly neutrino forecast for February 16th to February 22nd, 2014. Human design is based on 4 ancient wisdom systems as a bridge to understanding our potential, to discover our path to making decisions that are correct for us as individuals. And those traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, and the Kabbalistic tree of life. And the way these systems all work together is we start by looking at the position of the sun and the planets, the nodes in the wheel, much like we would in astrology, except instead of comparing them to zodiological constellations or to each other by the angles that they make, we look at them in relation to specific hexagrams. So here you can see we have the sun. It's in late Aquarius, but it's also in the 30th hexagram, which we can see is denoted as being yang, yin, yang, yang, yin, yang. These all get mapped into specific locations. So the 30th hexagram in the I Ching is mapped to this location here, coming out of the solar plexus, and so like I said, we've got the sun in the 30th hexagram on the 16th. So basically, the shapes inside the body graph represent the next stage in our evolution as humans, from having 7 chakras prior to 1781. To now having 9 centers, with coincidental to Herschel's discovery of the planet Uranus. The pathways between the centers are called channels. They're from the Kabbalah. These black pieces of paper on the diagram represent the gates activated by the sun, planets, and nodes, regardless of whether they form a channel. I'm not going to be following the moon in this demonstration. It moves very, very fast and activates between 3 and 4 gates in a single day. So we have the sun. It's in the 30th hexagram. It's mapped to an opening in an energy channel called the gate, which the 30th here is the gate of recognition of feelings, the clinging fire. Freedom is recognized as an illusion. Limitation is accepted as fate. It's located in the solar plexus in a collective abstract energy path called the channel of recognition that connects to the 41 down at the root center. And I found human design to be an amazingly accurate, and it's my primary tool that I use when I provide readings. We have the following hanging gates or potentials on February 16th. Like we said, we have the sun in the 30th gate. We have the earth is in the 29th gate. The north node is here in the 50th gate, the south node in the 3rd gate. Mercury is also over here in the 30th gate, with Venus in the 54, and Mars is also with the north node in the 50. Jupiter down here is in the 39, with Saturn in the 43. Uranus in the 21, and Neptune is in the 55, and Pluto is in the 38. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your own personal body graph. Sometimes the transit gives us a center that we don't normally have. So, you know, knowing where things are can make you aware of how you're being influenced, what's conditioning you, and what's also there that you can use to your advantage. Just recognizing that it's temporary and it's not you. It's the environment that we're traveling through. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com. Click the button that says "Get your free rave chart," and then just enter in your birth information, and that way you can use that while going through some of these reports and see how this is all interacting with you. All week we have Jupiter in the 39, We have Neptune in the 55. This is bringing us this channel of emoting for quite some time now. It's going to be with us until March 14th, which is a time period where people feel pressure in the form of emotional wave. And the best way to deal with this level of sensitivity is to appreciate the lows as well as the highs, recognizing that it's all part of our human experience. And it's temporary for those of us that don't have this channel in our birth chart. And this can really bring lessons that yield wisdom as long as we stay in the present of moving from hope to despair back to hope in this cycle. And we can tap into great creativity that's being fueled by this individual channel. And the individual channels, they bring this quality of melancholy, of feeling blue. And when we experience that, that's really great energy to put into some form of artistic expression, and it's also a very deeply romantic, and it has an acoustic sensitivity. So listening to music or talking with a loved one is favored. February 16th starts out with the sun in the 4th line, up here, the line of the opportunist. Again, it's in the 30, the clinging fire, where the sun is described as burnout, an unrealistic pace that begs misfortune. In exalted, it's the compulsion and hyperactive nature that carries all the earmarks of burnout, but doesn't necessarily arrive at it. The positive outcome is often assisted through analysis. It's highly energized feelings that may lead to an emotional collapse. In its detriment, it's the uncontrollable expansion with the inevitable bursting of the bubble, uncontrollable feelings accompanied by emotional outbursts. And then later, the sun moves into the 5th line of the 30th hexagram, and that occurs at 7:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the times I'm going to give you are going to be Eastern Standard Time, so convert them to your local time zone so that you know when those shifts are happening. The sun in the 30th hexagram 5th line is irony, recognition and dedication to transitory goals. Exalted is the strength derived from knowledge and experience that 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still 1 step forward. Each new feeling brings back an old feeling before progress can take place. Detrimented, the anger engendered by irony, frustration with its limitations and the desire to eliminate the entire process. Frustration and anger with old feelings brought into emotional awareness through a new experience. Then on the 17th, the sun moves into the 6th line. So it's moved out of the heretical 5th line up into the role model of the 6th line of the 30th hexagram still. That shift happens at 5:39 p.m. again Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 30 with the 6th line is enforcement, the discipline to maintain right actions. The exaltation is assertiveness to purge the inferior while accepting to lead the weak. The strength to eliminate negative feelings. Detrimented, the inherent peacefulness that all too often will abide the presence of inferior forces, the lack of strength in eliminating negative feelings. And then on the 17th, we have our first shift here. Mercury retrogrades, and so from our perspective here on Earth, it's appearing as if it's moving backwards in the sky, and it retrogrades out of the 30th hexagram and back into the 49 here. So, of course, we still have the sun in the 30, at least for the moment, and so that stays there. And Mercury is the messenger of the gods. It's about communication, the expansion of human consciousness through communications, but not just as words, but also as music. What do you need to communicate in life? And it's interesting, if you look at your own personal chart, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. When Mercury is in the 49, we communicate about principles. This is the gate of the revolution. Ideally, the transformation of all forms based on the highest principles and not simply for power. Being retrograde, Mercury enters into the 49 at the 6th line of attraction, the power of revolution in action to expand support. Exalted, it's an innate impressibility that transforms the fence sitter into the committed. The sensitivity and potential to embrace and transform others. Detrimented, stubborn, often fatal rejectionism, oversensitivity that leads to rejection of principles and the others as a rule. So it's rejecting principles. It's also rejecting other people in its detriment. And then on the 18th, the sun moves out of the 30. So at this point, the 30th gate is no longer being activated, and it moves into the 55 where it joins Neptune, and the Earth moves out of the 29, and it moves into the 59, which is the gate of sexual strategy, this shift happens at 3:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the sun in the 55th gate of spirit, abundance. Its abundance is strictly a question of spirit. The sun's exalted in this first line due to Jupiter's presence in the 39. So if you look it up in your Ravi Ching, you're going to see that Jupiter exalts the 59-1 because Jupiter is in the opposite end of the channel. What we're getting here is that the 59-1 becomes exalted with the sun there, and the 59, not the 59-1, the 55-1 is exalted. The sun is exalted there. The 55-1 exalted is cooperation, the expansion of activity through cooperation with powerful forces, through principled actions that guarantee continued support and engender prosperity. The potential to cooperate with powerful forces for the benefit of spirit or not. And then on the 19th, the sun moves out of this first line, so it comes in the line of the investigator. It moves up to here, the line of the hermit, in the 55th hexagram at 2:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 55-2 is keynoted as distrust, abundance hampered by slander or gossip. Exalted is the gift of being able to penetrate to the center that may demonstrate effectively through its relating talents. That is the trustfulness, that its trustfulness is genuine. Emotional stability and strength of spirit is dependent on being trusted by others. Detrimented, it's the direct challenge to the slanderers who always will have the advantage of quoting the bard. Methinks he doth protest too much. Only continuing example can overcome distrust. The emotional drive to assist on trustworthiness that does not guarantee its acceptance by others or the benefits of spirit. And then on the 20th, the sun moves into the 3rd line. So now it moves up to this line of the martyr. Again, we're looking at this 55th hexagram. The shift happens at 12:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is innocence. Here, I'm only following orders. It is a genuine defense. Exalted when the form is correct and attempts at actualization have been disciplined and within the guidelines, failure cannot be personally attributed. The emotional possibility to recognize that despite one's best effort, failure is possible and does not need to affect the spirit. Detrimented, it's where the struggle against conformity or individual initiative can bring a superior bring a superior to ruin while safely hiding behind a shield. The energy to selflessly protect one's spirit at the expense of others. The 21st, the sun moves into the fourth line, so we move now up into this opportunist line. Again, we're still in the 55th hexagram of spirit. This shift happens at 10:56 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time. The sun is exalted in this gate as well, due to Jupiter being down here in the 39. And it's described as assimilation, the establishment of a framework that balances principles with the energy that leads inevitably to expansion and prosperity. The possible gift that comes when emotional awareness and energy is balanced and principled. Also on the 21st, Venus moves, and it's moving out of this 54th gate and up to the 61. So up here, coming out of the head center, let's get you. We have Venus in the 61. So try to get that again. All right. And so anyway, Venus in the 61. In human design, Venus is very powerful and yet deeply misunderstood. It brings morality, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. What disturbs you on a moral level? You know, it's the moral dilemma that we're going to work with in your life. So if you do not act from moral clarity, Venus can be really nasty in its retribution. In the 61, Venus is about the morality of mystery, of the inner truth, the awareness of underlying principles. Venus is detrimented in the first line of the 61, occult knowledge, where a reliance on secret knowledge increasingly demands ascetic withdrawal and leads to obscurity, where the pressure to know the mysteries can be so strong that one eventually incapable of handling exoteric realities. And then on the 22nd, we have the sun moves into the fifth line of up here, the heretical line of the 55th hexagram. And this shift occurs at 9:16 a.m. again, Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 55.5 is detrimented, and it's described as growth and integrative openness that is broad, that in its broad acceptance of advice may be eventually eclipsed. The emotional openness where spirit is at a risk from conditioning. And then as we wrap up this week, so the 22nd being the last day that we're talking about, you know, we've got the sun, it's transiting through the gate of spirit. So I thought I'd discuss the upcoming change in the global cycle as the precession of the equinox is going to be moving from the 37.1 to the 55.6, and that shift occurs in 2027. The Earth experiences a slow wobble on its axis. So the axis kind of moves back and forth like this, but very slowly. Which over time moves the decree of the sun during the vernal equinox backwards through the zodiological signs and also the corresponding hexagrams in the I Ching. The spring equinox, the sun has been in the 37th hexagram in the first line since the early 1960s. So these changes are very slow; they take a long time. But in 2027, it's going to back into the sixth line of the 55th hexagram, which brings a mutation to the 55th gate and to the solar plexus. Currently, the solar plexus is an awareness center along with, so the solar plexus is an awareness center along with the splenic center and the ajna center. and it's also a motor along with the root center, the sacral center, and the ego center. But after the mutation of the solar plexus, it's children who are born 2027 and afterwards, it will only have a solar plexus as an awareness center. The motor that generates the emotional wave will remain in those born before the mutation, but those born with the mutation will only have an awareness center in the solar plexus. This new form of being is called the rave, and this means that those folks that are born with the mutation, if they have the 2212 or they have the 3635, these are going to be projector channels because it's no longer a motor, so it's no longer a direct connection of a motor to the throat. Right now, these are manifesting channels, but after the mutation, these are going to be projector channels because that won't be a motor any longer. So we're going to also see an increase in quad right variable as humans continue to shift from being strategic, left brain, left mind thinkers to becoming more and more receptive right brain, right mind thinkers. This shift is really evident as we see in the increase of diagnoses of autism spectrum disorders and things like that, which basically that's part of the mutation, and you know, basically it turns into a diagnosis because people don't really know that's the direction humanity is moving in. And basically, you know, schools have a hard time dealing with folks like that because their education is really designed for left brain, left-minded, strategic learners, not receptive learners. And so we're also currently experiencing this wrap up of the global cycle in the 37th hexagram, where what we really see is a decay of community, particularly in the support safety net programs that are slowly being dismantled as we're moving towards the era of the individual. With Neptune's veil in this transiting of the 55 here, I believe that most people are being really blinded to how extraordinary this change will be. This is going to become much clearer next month when Neptune moves into the 37th hexagram, and so it will not be blinding us as to what's been happening in the 55. And that shift to the 37 will be on March 14th, and when that happens, we're going to be much more aware of what's been happening in the gate of spirit, but I'll be covering that in much more detail in future reports. As we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, the sun's still going through the 13, the 49, 30, and the 55, so we're finishing up the gates associated with the Kali God's head, which I've talked about being as symbolic of rebirth, death, resurrection, recreation. Kali was a Hindu goddess associated with death. She was the consort of Shiva, who is the god of death in the field of eternal time, whereas Kali is the goddess of change in time, particularly depicted for her fierceness. But her earliest incarnation was that she was a benevolent mother goddess. And Kali in the human design wheel is the concretization of coming into form, into the cycle of birth, death, and resurrection. This is the initiation of the body and the mind into the field of time. So, you know, one of the things I like to think about is no matter how these conditioning forces are really affecting you during this week, you know, take some time out to be in the flow of the planet. Go out, be in nature, watch a sunrise, watch a sunset, commune with the stars, be conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, you know, being truly present with somebody you love. Every single day we have is a blessing, no matter what the dramas that are beckoning to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of our lifetimes on the world stage. Just take some time out to observe the play, observe your movie, be the passenger in the back seat, as well as, you know, playing your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. Anyway, thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for February 23rd, 2014. It should be available by the 22nd, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. We're also going to be taking a look at the sun moving into the 37th hexagram and the Mitra God's head. We're also going to be seeing the definitions of the channel of community and the channel of mutation during the next report. So check us out on Facebook and YouTube, and I always encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. I will be discussing the transits of March 2014 and providing some short human design readings to the participants of the Earth Needs Rebel show on Orion Talk Radio on March 3rd. And this is a great opportunity. If you want to come on the show, you just go into the chat space and contact Katie there, and they will call you for free anywhere on the planet. So you can get a free 10 to 15 minute human design reading, and the call is also free. So if you want to come on the show, I would love to have you there. It's always kind of fun to do a couple of short impromptu readings along with talking about the transits. As always, I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I'd love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to either be able to call me in Maine in the USA or connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to try to keep these reports freely available. There's a lot of work that goes into them. But truly, one of the best ways to make a donation is get a reading. As always, I'm blessed you've taken the time out to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. And look forward to connecting with you either in a reading or on the radio show or in the next installment of the weekly neutrino forecast. Peace and love, everybody.